I don't really know that much about the Tupac homicide. They never got anybody on that case, did they?
So, with the Tupac situation back in, I think, 2005, they had to do a big investigation because the city was being sued because they believed that dirty cops were involved in the killing of Biggie Smalls. So, during the investigation, they actually found the people who killed Tupac. They got one guy hemmed up. He was selling heroin, Keefe. And, basically they got him on a life sentence unless he cooperated. So they put him on a proffer deal. So whatever he told them that day could never be used against him.
Yeah, let me stop you right there and tell you what a proffer is. So let's say you've got a client who is a snitch and wants to go into the U.S. Attorney's office and cooperate to get a lower sentence. When you go in there, you could admit to anything except for a homicide, basically, and they can't use anything against you in that proffer session unless you lie. And then if you lie and then you try to say something different on the stand, they can jam that up your ass.
Basically, he during this proffer session, he tells the investigators that he was in the car when his nephew shot Tupac. Years later, one of the detectives, he recorded this. And he puts a book out and he makes, like a documentary about it. Basically telling, how Tupac and Biggie were killed. Well, Keefe D has been doing interviews. I've interviewed Keefe D. And he talks about, I can't remember exactly how in detail we got into it in our interview, but he wrote a book about it where he talks about it in detail. And there's still no charges.
So Keefe D, his cousin was the one who shot Tupac. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Is he an artist?
No. Orlando Anderson, no. He wasn't a rapper or nothing.
Keefe D, I mean.
Nope.
Okay. And there's been no charges against his cousin.
Orlando Anderson died. He died in a couple years after Tupac.
Oh, then they can't charge him.
Right. Keefe D, though. Keefe D was
yeah,
in
but
the car.
Did Keefe D say he had something to do with it?
He was in the car.
So what? Mere presence alone is not enough. And there's also a doctrine called corpus delicti. You cannot be convicted on your own word alone without any corroboration.
That actually makes a lot of sense because everybody else that was in the car that night is dead. There's 4 people in the car. He's the only person still living.
So what you have so far is just mere presence. I was there when this happened and not participating necessarily. I bet he's not inculpating himself. Inculpation is the exact opposite of exculpation. So he's not making himself seem guilty. He was just there. And there's nobody there to corroborate what he's saying. So it may be true, maybe not be true. But that's, that is what it is.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. What do you think about the Little Tim situation?
Little Tim, that's going to be a situation where he's going to probably claim self-defense. And he might win on that. That was a situation where there's, where you can probably expect other gang members to have a gun. So, he was on King Von's side, right? Or no, on the other side. He was on the other side.
He was on the other side.
Right. And so they're all beefing with each other, and I've seen the video. And I think cops were firing into the crowd at that point too, weren't they?
At one point, I believe the police shot 2 other people. I don't know. Little Tim got shot himself. I'm not sure who shot him, though. I'm not sure we know for a fact who shot Little Tim.
All I got to say is he might have a shot.
So that's what I'd seen, too, The only thing I was kind of wondering about is, Vaughn was just beating up Quando Rondo.
Yeah.
It didn't really, is it reasonable to say his life was in danger?
Well, it's one thing We don't know what was said between the parties right then and there. And it seems like something was brewing, and it just all of a sudden got physical, and it got crazy all of a sudden. And so it's just gonna come down to one thing and one thing only: who started it, and whether what little Tim did was reasonable. Those are the two questions that need to be asked or answered.
And that'll be up to the jury to decide that.
Well, here's the problem: if he doesn't get a self-defense instruction, he's kind of hosed. So he'll need to get an instruction that if you find that the defendant was acting in self-defense, he's not guilty of a crime, that kind of thing. And if they don't get that instruction, then what's his defense? Then he doesn't have one.
And that would be something I take it his lawyers would be fighting for?
For sure, yeah. Self-defense or defense of others.
Okay.
And generally, self-defense is presumed. In other words, the government has to prove that the person did not act in self-defense. So they have to prove a negative.
So that makes it look really good on his side then.
If he gets a self-defense instruction. If you find out that they had a motions hearing and the defense will not be getting the self-defense instruction, you can expect a plea to something quickly, I would bet.
Okay, so it wouldn't even go to trial.
Without the self-defense instruction, there is no defense. Unless it's an accidental discharge of the firearm, which totally is not in accordance with what the facts are.
Well, man, this was really informative. A really dope interview.
Well, it was great to meet you.
You too?
We'll hook next time we're out in LA, because we went out to LA and did Adam No Jumper interview. When we come out there again, we'll hook up and I'll buy you a steak.
Man, that sounds good. I'm with that 100%, man.
All right, good to talk to you.
Definitely, man. It was good to talk to you, man. I appreciate you.
All right, see you later.
All right, bro. Later.